Sit down for any length of time at all and listen with nothing going on in your head. I think that's something you have to work on. I think it's something you have to teach yourself how to do, because it's not something that we've ever valued, for one, as a culture. Or, in the way we were raised, it was like, our minds are to be busy. Our minds are to, if you're not doing something, then if you're not thinking something, you're not doing something, that kind of thing. It's this sort of Horatio Alvarez kind of thing, that hard work gets the reward. The really trying is what really gets you there. And if I can just think the right thoughts in the right way, I'm going to figure out how to get around whatever I need it is. And if I could just think about it long enough, then the answer will come to me from the questions I ask. I don't think that's the way it works. It just doesn't, to me it doesn't, it hasn't been my experience, I guess, is the best way to put that. The answers, sometimes what I would call an answer, which is just a mini little insight into something, it's like a little aha moment, answers maybe 20 questions that are all various in nature about certain things, whether they're about a relationship or what should I do next, or something that I don't quite see fits into the way I see things. It's all of a sudden, it's like, oh, okay, now I get it. It isn't there's no voice that says, this is what, here is the answer, this is what it is, if you do this, this, and this will get you there. It's not that kind of answer. It's the removal of the question. It isn't an answer to the question. You receive something that makes the question no longer of any interest. And it just goes away. And so when the answer is the removal of the question, it isn't the answer to the question. Again, it's this sort of convoluted backwards logic that so many things on the quote, quote, spiritual side of the world seem to adhere to, this weird rule of everything is inside out, it's not straightforward. It's like if you want to do something, then do the opposite, and then all of a sudden you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. I don't know a good example at the moment, but it just seems this reverse logic of, and so many things have been written about it, so many metaphors. It's like, I kept pushing on the door trying to get in until I realized the door opened towards me. So I spent my entire life banging on the door trying to get through it, and yet I took one step back and it opened. It's that kind of sort of reverse logic of, I question things and I ask and I ask and I want, and nothing happens. Nothing comes to us. There's no answer. And then we relax and we just allow ourselves to be as we are. And all of a sudden you're not asking that question anymore. It's gone. It's an amazing feeling. It's perplexing because it makes no sense to our rational minds again. But like anything, the more you do it, the more it happens and the better you get at it. So it's just a little clue as to, a lot of times people say, what do I work on? What do I think about when I'm meditating? What should I even meditate, And I'm not sure, to me, it's not meditation in the traditional sense. Most people think of meditation as sitting down with a mantra or a saying or counting your breaths or, visualizations. There's many different meditative practices in the Tibetan side of Buddhism that where you visualize different images and you spend the entire time trying to make that image more and more clear. Like if you were to imagine the Buddha, what is he wearing? And what's the threads look like? And what are the colors? And what does he have in his hand? And all of these things are techniques to try and focus the mind so that the mind stops. So it's like, instead of thinking 1,000 different random thoughts, I'm going to think very specific thoughts about a particular thing, and that's going to train my mind to have concentration. But that's just the beginning of the path, because once you learn that, if that is useful to an individual, there's still another step of going beyond that to where you're not thinking about anything anymore. And if you do have thoughts, they're thoughts that are so sort of hazy that they don't even form themselves into solid thoughts, but they're still there. The mind can never stop, because the mind doesn't do that. But the mind can be trained to notice. This is kind of another inside-out thing. The mind can be trained to notice where the thoughts come from. And the thoughts come from stillness. They come from nothing, or supposedly nothing, whatever. But there is a field of, again, it's hard to put a word on it. I'll just use the word nothing, because there's nothing there but silence. There's this field where they just sort of come out of. It's like if you try and notice the first instant you have a thought, where did it come from? It's really hard to identify. You normally just experience finding yourself in a thought. You're already engaged before you even know you have it. So again, this is just a little, it's like a hint of something you might try to see whether this works for you or not. I hesitate to, again, I wouldn't presume to be able to teach anyone a method to do this, because first of all, I'm not an expert at this. I can only talk from my own experience. And again, as I continue to say in these talks, our experiences are our own, and we need to find out what they are. What I do come here each month to talk about is to put conscious effort into noticing these type of things, so that you can get a little deeper inside yourselves to find out what's inside of you. Each one of us is a universe unto itself, I think. And to presume to be able to tell anyone how to do something, or how to get somewhere, or how to figure something out, I don't think is useful. Because you'll focus, because we're humans, and because of the way our minds work again, you'll focus on the person telling you as a teacher, instead of relying on yourself. And I don't put myself forward as a teacher, because I think that's very detrimental to anyone's progress. If you're, look to yourself, don't look to anyone for the answers. Nobody has the answers for you. But we can sit around and talk about the fact that there are answers that can be discovered, that they are inside of you, and if you look, you will find them, and you'll become your own teacher, or you'll find your own teacher inside yourself. And in some of the Hindu philosophies, they call it the Sat Guru, which is, it's your own teacher inside of yourself who has all the answers. And again, everybody can put a different name on that. Everybody can attach it to a religious belief. Everybody can pick and choose what is most comfortable for them. And I'm not saying there's a right or wrong. Maybe what I hear comes from who you think I hear it from. And you call it by a particular name, but I don't happen to call it by that name. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I'm okay with not knowing too. You know, if whatever this is wants to reveal itself to me in a particular name, shape, or form, then it will. And until then, I'm okay with not attaching anything to it. To me, it's so great. It's so large. It's so vast. How could you put any kind of name on it? But that's just me. I mean, that's how I experience it, or that's how I imagine it. Other people feel much more comfortable with almost personifying it. And that's okay. Of course it's okay. How could it not be okay? It's how each person sees things, you know? That to me is the magic. That to me is the key, I guess, is finding out what it is that you, as an individual entity or manifestation of whatever we're in here, but you find the key to the door that opens up the world to you inside yourself. And whatever you find is appropriate, it's right, and it's exactly what you need for yourself. So how can anyone judge what anyone else thinks or what anyone believes. To me, that's almost a travesty. I just don't connect with that idea of saying, you need to do this, or you need to believe this, or this is the way it is. All someone can tell you is that's the way it is for them. And I honor that in everybody. I never disagree with anyone in what their belief systems are, because they're wholly and totally personal. And if it gets you there, then that's the important thing. That's, what horse you ride there is not so important as where you're going. I mean, isn't that true? Even if you take the most dogmatic religions in the world, they tend to focus on who gets you there, not where you're going. And to me, it's where you're going. It's all the teachings in the world are the same in the sense that they're pointing to something greater than the teaching.